Hey everybody, Dave Lindbergh in Hong Kong with another episode of a THD Podcast. Today, joining us in the corner here, over there, is Bishopsound coming in from the UK. So we're going to find out all about the pro speakers and a British brand, which is kind of unique in today's environment. So we're kind of curious to see how they do that and how they compete against the other global players. But as always, we have our co-host in Japan, Simon Weston. How you doing this afternoon, Simon?
Ready to rock today, man.
Ready to rock. Okay, well, we got the perfect guest to talk about rock. So Andrew Bishop, the president and founder of Bishopsound. How are you doing today, Andy?
Very good, thank you. Had my COVID jab yesterday, so I'm all sorted and raring to go. Anti-COVID now.
Excellent. All right, so you're ready to make a trip back to China soon, maybe?
Fingers crossed.
All right. So, I've known Andy for, 10 plus years now. He's been around the industry. And, the concept of being a smaller brand, building pro speakers, it's kind of an interesting thing, I think, for our viewers to watch. What does it take to survive in the current environments? And how does the development process work for a smaller company in the UK? So Andy, you want to tell us a bit about how long you've been in the audio business and how Bishopsound got started?
I made my first speaker when I was 12 years old. So that was 1972, because I was obviously born in 1960. So I had to do that because I hadn't got any money and I wanted to be a DJ. Okay. So, like so many. So that was my first sort of venture into sound. But I suppose having gone into corporate and worked at Barclays Bank and Norwegian energy companies and various other things, I came back to the industry when I was 40 years of age, when I bought Carlsberg for £1. I bought Carlsberg for £1 on New Year's Eve, 1999.
Wow. Okay.
It was in a bit of a mess, and it's quite a long story attached to it. But very briefly, I saw it advertised. I didn't see Carlsberg advertised. I saw a MIPA business advertised in the Sunday Times when we used to read the Sunday Times in paper form. And I was in the bath, and the paper fell apart, and this MIPA thing fell on me. And I thought, what the devil's this? And it turned out to be a business in the Midlands. They didn't say what it was. MIPA apparently stood for MIPA, although we don't use that term in our industry. Nobody ever says I'm in the MIPA business. Right. So I rang up and signed a confidentiality agreement, and Carlsberg's paperwork dropped on the doorstep. And being a Barclays banker, I went straight to the bottom line and saw it was losing $500,000 on a £900,000 turnover. So I threw it in the bin. And they rang me about 3 weeks later and said, "Are you coming to the factory?" I said, "Well, no, I'm not interested. It's shot to pieces. Sorry, I just intrigued to know what MIPA meant." And they said, "No, you've got to come to the factory." I said, "Well, no, I'm not." And they said, "Well, you must, because you're the one that answered the advert." Now, the Sunday Times at that time had 5 million readers, and this advert was the size of a postcard. And you think, well, is that a calling or what? So I rocked up in my suit. They all thought I was the official receiver. And I went around the factory. I said, "Well, what do you do?" And the guy stopped and said, "Well, excuse me, I make the best speakers in the world. Why, who the hell are you and why are you asking?" I said, I'm just intrigued, They said, "Yeah, there's my brother over there. There's my sister. There's my auntie. They've been doing this in this little factory since 1959. They've been making sound systems." And that level of passion and emotion and desire drew me to the business. And very simply, very quickly, they said, "Right, well, if the owner said, right, what are we going to do?" I said, "Well, look, let's get everybody, let's let everybody know who I am, and let's." "No, we're not doing that. We'll just put a little note in their pay packet at the weekend and say, you might be interested in buying the business, I said, "No, we won't do that. You'll get them all in the canteen, and we will talk to them. You will tell them So the guy went into the canteen with all these people stuck to the side of the canteen wall, about 45 of them. And this was Friday afternoon, 3:00, just before they were going home. And he stood up in front of the coffee machine. This was the owner of the company of Carlsberg, and stood up in front of the coffee machine and said, "For those of you that don't know who I am your managing director." Sorry? You don't know who the managing director is, and it's a small company of 40 people? He then pointed at me and said, "Andrew is now quite keen on buying the business. Andrew, over to you. Andrew's going to say a few words." And I was like a rabbit in the headlights, because I was just appalled that a business could run without knowing who the managing director was. So I said, "Well, look, if we're going to get this right, we're going to play as a team. We need some fullbacks, we need midfield, we need some strikers to get the orders," and just basically busked it.
Yeah.
And anyway, I said to him afterwards, I said, that was appalling. I said, "What are you going to do if I don't buy this business?" He said, "I just chuck the keys in the canal and just walk away." And I said, "Well, that's shameful." I said, "This business has been making speakers for the great and the good for generations. I mean, for goodness sake, Marshall amplification was built off the back of a Carlsberg Fender amp in 62. It was the birth of so many great audio achievements. You can't do this." And he said, "Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And they'll all come back, on Monday morning, they'll all knock on the door and the door will be locked and they'll wonder what's going on." You're an absolute arsehole. So, I paid the quid, and we had a few savings, not much. And I thought, what the hell am I going to do now? And I wrote to every customer and said, "Please, please, please give me an order, anything. Let's just try and make this happen again." And in its heyday, it got back up to about 3.5, 4 million with fantastic profits. But when the credit crunch hit in 2008, 2009, the bank pulled in all of our money, closed all our overdraft facilities, Far East closed all the stuff, and I had to close the business. So Sound King, who we all know, purchased the brand. I did some consultancy for them for a while, as I did for Wharfdale and the IAG group and various others, Behringer, blah, blah, blah. And it was in 2016, 17 when my customers started ringing me and said, "This is bloody ridiculous. We need some Carlsberg speakers again." Couldn't use the name Carlsberg. So we started Bishopsound. And it was my Nigerian customers who said, "You're going to call it Bishopsound. And if you don't do that, we're not going to trade with you. And if you do that, you call it Bishopsound, put your name on it. We will give you an order for a 40-foot container." And that's how we started Bishopsound.
Okay.
So there you go. Long story. But that's compressed.
Oh no, that's a good lead up. So maybe I think you got a presentation ready. Maybe we can look at some slides and give some people some visual on, tell the story of Bishopsound, and then we can interject with some questions where it seems appropriate.
Yeah, let's just go through. Well, the first thing we did. Can everyone see that? Okay, thumbs up if you can.
Sure can.
Yeah, perfect.
So we started with a logo, which we thought that would be quite nice to have the bars, and that worked really well. And because they look like a sort of graphic equalizer, we made the B into sort of a graphic equalizer. We're passionate about British sound, and we do know there is a vast difference between British sound and other people's sound, and we'll come into that a little bit later. So, who the devil are Bishopsound? What do they stand for? And what do they do? And why do we do it? In the three sort of areas I just want to go through. Please interject if there's any questions. So Bishopsound is me and my beautiful wife Victoria, and nobody else.
Right.
The reason being that on that fated day when 45 souls who all had families and livelihoods stood around the room in the canteen at Carlsbad. I never ever want to go through that again, of having to affect people's lives directly. And I don't want to go through that breakup again of other issues forcing me down a road I don't want to go down, like the credit crunch. Everybody agrees that, so many businesses went in the UK at that time through no fault of their own. And when banks start to foreclose and draw in funds, there's little more that you can do than just yield. So I don't want to go there again. So what I've decided this time is that my wife and I will run it. And if we need any help, we'll bring it in on a freelance basis. So let's just say for 1 minute, some customer comes to us and says, look, I really need this kind of sound for this particular application. Well, we will know somebody out of the hundreds of people I've met over the years that will know exactly how to do that. So we'll ask them to do it and give them a peppercorn rate for their trouble, either in perpetuity as a commission or a lump sum. So it just means that these days in audio, it's very difficult to find one person that knows everything. You need a group of people that know something. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. That's why there's two of us interviewing you.
So Victoria tends to take care of all the orders and the financial side of the business, bless her cotton socks. And I deal with the technical stuff and the innovation and all the rest of it. So that's how we function. So we've been through who are Bishopsound and where they came from, and we are passionate about our customers, and our customers lead this business, and they are our business. So they tend to tell us which way to go and how to get there. And our customers are often our freelancers and our consultants. So, but none of them are on the payroll. That's the key. We have to keep our overheads as low as we possibly can to make sure our prices are competitive. So the freelancers and the individuals that we spoke about earlier, they design all the speakers. I don't design speakers because there's so many different types and so many different applications. The customers decide what goes into the range. I don't. And if we get 7 out of 10 people asking for the same sort of thing, we put it into production. Sometimes you'll get a weirdo come on and say, I need a speaker that works on the water, and, you can hear submarines, and, the fish will react. Oh, great, lovely. Okay, fine. Get me a kg of what you're on, and, we'll smoke that. But, there are weirdos, but we kind of, we're nice to everybody. I'll speak to anybody. But we have to be careful that we don't go down blind alleys. Right. The usage in Bishopsound is phenomenal. The list is endless. And this is very difficult from a market point of view, because the first thing the marketeers say to you is, who's your target audience? And you say, people with ears. Well, we've all got ears. Well, right, exactly. So it's churches, it's mosques, it's nightclubs, it's restaurants, it's yoga classes, it's DJs, it's live bands. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just anything shared use, from schools to pavilions to train stations, anywhere Absolutely. Where there's multiple people. Yeah,
football stadiums. I mean, and again, having this flexibility. I mean, I think one of the gifts is having traveled the Far East for 32 years, which you alluded to earlier, David. I am well traveled, and I have got a fantastic number of tremendous friends in the Far East who I'm missing, and I have a great relationship with a lot of my friends in Ningbo, where we manufacture most of our products, and they're the loveliest people on the planet. and I adore them, and I miss them, because they really care about what we're doing, and they really want to help. And I think there's a thing that, treat others as you expect to be treated yourself. And I've always treated everybody that I've met in Ningbo, however, whatever, with the greatest amount of respect, and they do likewise. And so that's how we manage to make great progress in what we do. No enemies in China at all. I struggle in Guangzhou. I don't have any enemies in Guangzhou, but I struggle with their mental state, because everything has to be quick and fast, and not, quality is not the highest thing on their agenda, generally speaking. Right.
Yeah, I think for the people listening, watching, a bulk of the products are built in Guangzhou, Guangdong province in China, but where Ningbo is a little enclave of a lot of pro audio developments. Specifically, a lot of PA speakers come out of that region, so that's something most people don't really even think about.
No, I think the prices are a lot cheaper in Dongguan and Guangzhou, but we don't work on price. Price is the last thing we think about. The first thing we think about is quality, and what it sounds like. We're not interested in cutting corners on the thickness of the paper cone or using second generation plastic or third generation plastic. We're into quality. And you know what? When people are involved in a quality product that sounds great, they feel good too. And, I want every person on the production line in my factories to feel good about what they're doing and be proud of what they're doing. And get the whole story. It's not just about putting a screw in a plastic cabinet or putting a grill on. It's about what effect that has on people further down the line. And so it's the whole story, not just that moment in time or the dollar or the grain of rice. It's the whole story. It's part of the journey. Very important.
Right. So
what drives me? Why am I doing this? 60 years of age. It's not an easy question to answer. I think what drives me is those days when you're feeling really low and somebody rings you up and says, Andrew, yeah, I've just played one of your speakers. And you immediately think he's going to say bust. And he said, I've been in the audio industry for 25 years and I can't believe how fantastic this sounds. You know what? When you travel, 14,000 miles around the world on over a weekend to get some speakers done and all the crap that you have to go through, those moments when people take the trouble to pick the phone up and say thank you, and it's amazing, makes it all worthwhile. Doesn't happen very often. It happens very often here. Victoria took a call yesterday from a guy that was almost in tears on the phone because he bought one of our 18-inch drivers and put it in a box, his box. Right. And he went, I can't believe it. This was Nathan. I can't believe it. It's just the most amazing speaker I've ever heard. I just can't wait to get some more. And that really, really makes the difference. It really lifts your spirit. So I do this because I can make a difference to the way people feel. I've had churches ring me saying all of a sudden the congregation are engaged with the moment. Your speakers are going further than the ears. They're touching the soul. And that's quite, whoa, back up, But if you get the sound right, you can touch people's soul. You can make a difference. And that's what we aim to do. So what drives me, and it happens regularly, believe me, when people ring up. I had a guy ring me about 12 months ago in tears on the phone. Absolutely. He's on 56 years of age. I've just switched your speakers on. He said, and I just can't stop crying. I went, whoa. So we're moving people. And That's great. So it's not about the speakers. It's not about the profit. It's not about the money. It's about the people in Ningbo who are making them and the people around the world who are switching them on and enjoying them. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
So what is this thing that people cry over? Well, it's British sound. How do you describe British sound? Why is music in the United Kingdom, our small country, our biggest export? Why are so many British bands and DJs and musicians so highly respected globally? Well, I think it's this. There is a problem with some people's hearing. Some people have been brought up to enjoy the pentatonic scale, high frequency, and Beijing opera and screeching, and that's what they've been brought up to learn and understand. So that's their benchmark. And if you take the Asian sound, generally speaking, it doesn't have an awful lot of warmth to it. There's nothing much going on in the middle. If you take the American sound, we talk about it as being tits and ass, forgive my language. Lot of top, lot of bottom, not a lot going on in the middle. And by making sure that you've got those mid-range frequencies working and happening, and you can hear them with an educated ear, then all of a sudden the music starts to come to life and you start to feel it. Still hear it, but you start to feel it. And getting that right, and that's what I do. When I voice my speakers, I take hours and hours voicing the speakers to get that sound sweet and warm and right. Not too much HF, not too much bass, not too much mid-range, but a nice warm balance.
Voicing speakers. Can you describe a bit more about voicing speakers? What does that phrase mean practically?
Okay, so when you're voicing a speaker, you're asking it to reproduce what you're putting in perfectly, i.e. with no coloration or distortion and I don't mean distortion as in, oh, that sounds horrible. I mean, little slight variances off point. So there are a lot of people have their favorite tracks to voice speakers with. I mean, the most common one is Hotel California. And the reason for that is there's a lot of acoustic guitars operating between those mid-range frequencies, and you have to be able to pick out each one. Now, some people, one of the gifts I have, apart from talking for England, is the ability to hear and be able to pick out individual instruments on a piece of music. So if I hear a piece of music, I could probably tell you what instruments are being played in that piece of music. It gets more difficult when synthesizers are being used. But when we go to a gig, I often say to Victoria, right, close your eyes. Tell me what instruments are being played on the stage at this moment in time. And the good sound engineers will deliver you all of those instruments. I went to a Simply Red concert once and, there was so much missing. I said to Victoria, so what about the keyboards? What keyboards? And the guy was rattling away like Billy-O on the keyboards, but you couldn't hear it out the speakers. So I went to the engineer at the end and I said, with greatest respect, I said, that wasn't brilliant for us. He said, well, where were you sat? I said, right in the middle, about 20 meters from the front of the stage, about 20 meters in front of you. He said, I'll tell you what then. He said, if you didn't like it, I'll go and get Mick Hucknall back out, and he can do it again for you if you like. It's not the way to talk. Just use your bloody ears, you clown. You should be able to hear. If you can see an instrument being played in an orchestra, you should be able to hear it. So anyway, voicing speakers is all about playing a track and making sure that you can hear every single note and every single piece of music that's being reproduced. in perfect tone. And that's what I call voicing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's facilitated by adjusting like passive crossover within it, or even maybe you have some
right.
digital. Yeah. Okay.
Pocket full of resistors, pocket full of capacitors, soldering iron, wires with little clips on, and literally saying, right, well, we just take that down, just a tiny bit, and then we might put it in front of, any number of proprietary test equipment and tweak it again slightly and listen to it again, and then anechoic chamber and tweak it. But you know what? Some speakers, the sound sometimes has to have a little bit of dirt in it, a little bit of something in it, essence, to make it sound good. I mean, this is very much for rock and roll and rock guitars and so on. If it hasn't got any color, it's a bit black and white. And I hate to say this, and a lot of the Germans that are watching are going to go, I don't agree with you. And the German sound is so clinical and so on point. It's too clean. It's too. If you listen to HK, fantastic company. Don't get me wrong, but if you listen to the speakers, you feel like you're marching up the street. It's so. What's the word?
Clinical.
Clinical. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want clinical. I don't want clinical. I want warmth, and I want to feel comfortable. The number of restaurants I've walked out of, and clubs where the sound has been so bad I couldn't eat my dinner or I couldn't have a conversation. Not because it's loud, because it just doesn't sound right. And it's so important. If you have a club, a bar, a restaurant, a house of worship, you can spend millions, but just don't, just get it right. Just get it sounding sweet. It doesn't need to be loud. Forget about the volume. Forget about SPL. Mm-hmm. Get it sounding right, and yeah, so blah, blah, blah. Go on for ages about it. But the definition of British sound, it's got to be warm and it's got to be sweet and it's not got to hurt the ears. And I think that's why a lot of people go to large events and enjoy it when Martin Audio have their line array system and D&B, in fact, not the German, but D&B, their line arrays. If you listen to L Acoustics line array, but people have to have them because it's a name, but there are, you can tell that Adamson's a very, very sweet sounding line array. If you go to a gig and you have a bad line array, you might as well go home because it's going to sound awful. Put some headphones on. Let's go a bit further. We're getting stuck. What makes Bishop sound different? Did a video yesterday. Went onto YouTube last night. We're not precious. So anyone popping onto YouTube and punching in Bishop sound will hear me say, briefly, that I'll help you, whoever you are, wherever you are. If you've got a project on and you want to do some sound, give me a call. And what's more important than that is if my speakers are not the ones you need to achieve the task, I will put you in touch with some of my friends who make speakers that will achieve the task better than mine. Now, can't say fairer than that. We're here to help people. We don't want people to spend thousands of pounds on a sound system and end up with a crock of shite. That money's hard to come by. So especially if you're if you're at school or a university or a house of worship, especially with COVID-19, every single penny matters. If you go blasé, listen to a sales rep and buying a load of kit and putting it in and it's not right, you're going to get spanked. So you might as well have a quick conversation with me and say, well, this is what I'm trying to achieve. This is what I want to do. And I'll say, well, you don't want my gig. You need to speak to Dom at Martin Audio. He's more into that, not me. You need to speak to whoever, Void or Function One or blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we're different because we don't, we're not chasing the dollar. We're chasing the sound. Right, here's a good one. What are the facts about Bishop sound? Right, a couple of quick ones. We do make speakers in England. Not many at the moment because of COVID-19, but we outsource the production of speakers to a lot of people. We make the scoop bins in England. Everybody thinks we just import from China and stick a British badge on it. Well, that's rubbish. Okay, so let's put it on record here now. So the fact is that we're trying to make even more here, and we will make even more here. But it's a little bit difficult under COVID-19 because we're still in lockdown and we're not allowed to go anywhere really without breaking the law. But once we come out on June the 21st of 2021, we will be contacting even more small wood mills and manufacturers and making more and more things over here. But at the moment, it's a little difficult. But at the moment, the scoop bins we can make, because that's a little guy, and the twin 18 turbo subs we can make, that's okay. And there'll be more coming. There's more on the drawing board. Okay. And the second thing is that everyone says, okay, so Bishopsound was at Glastonbury, but all the kit went wrong. Well, the fact is that the guy who was on the sound desk had an upset tummy because he'd eaten a burger the night before from a van that hadn't washed his hands properly. So he ran off to the toilet. Our system was there. A little kid came up, switched all the limiters off, drove all the speakers into the middle of nowhere, and blew all the 15-inch drivers and the HF units in a single flick. So we were at Glastonbury. Our gear is not rubbish. It's just one guy had to go to the toilet, and he was poorly, and a little kid decided that he would come and play with the knobs. That's the fact. All over Facebook, all over. Bishopsound's no good. It's rubbish because no, it's because a bonehead switched the limiters off. So there's a couple of facts but that's just hearsay. Why is Bishopsound growing? Not really sure. It's growing, I think, because people deal with people. They like the idea that they can pick the phone up to me and have a chat. And I'm accessible and I don't hide. I give everybody my mobile number, my email address, my landline number, and I'm happy to speak with anybody. So that's unusual in this industry. There aren't many owners of audio companies that want to speak to anybody around the world. I have no idea why our driver sales are going through the roof. This was an accident. What happened was that I thought, well, we better bring some spare drivers in just in case our speakers break. And all of a sudden, I was looking at them for like 8 months, 12 months, because they didn't break. So I thought, well, I better sell them. And we started selling them. And all of a sudden, people now are buying our drivers and saying they sound better than this and that, blah, blah, blah. So great. But we make all our own drivers to our own specifications. The reason being that I used Fane in Carlsbro and Celestian, and it was great, but the consistency was not good. And the PD speakers, once they moved from Cornwall Precision Devices, not sure. So it's all about consistency and quality. And if I voice a speaker, it's got to sound the same on the day that it was born to the day, 10 years of age. It's got to have the same character. And if someone's messed around and changed the paper cone or the spider or the voice coil or done it differently, then it just isn't going to sound the same. And we're very, very particular about our glues, which is why we don't have hardly any drivers come back, which is good news, which is why we can offer a lifetime guarantee. So that's why we offer a lifetime guarantee. So, because they work. And it was only on Christmas Day last year when I thought, hang on a minute, not a lot of stuff's coming back, if any. So the return, I did a quick check, and the returns rate was just so small. I thought, well, I might as well put a lifetime guarantee on it, and that's what we do.
Hey, Andy, can you tell us a bit more about the glues? That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Secret information or something you can tell us?
I don't know. Glues have taken a while. We started with glues back working with Alan Liu at AXL, winding way back, when Duncan Boniface worked with us. Duncan's now with Laney, or H&H. Great guy, Duncan. And he worked with us. We started making drivers with Alan Liu of AXL, just outside Shanghai. And I don't know how we stumbled across a formulation for the glue. I can't honestly remember, but we did, and it sticks like shit to a blanket. It's the most amazing stuff. And
do you know what type of glue it is?
Well,
we should be saying adhesive, I think, shouldn't we, rather than glue?
Yeah. It's just I'm a simple guy.
Yeah.
I've got 6-year-old twins. Everything's about glue, especially during homeschooling. We have about 1 million different adhesives here, but yeah, we should have said it. But yeah, it's an adhesive to make sure that effectively, in its simple form, it doesn't break down over time, degrade, or fall apart and cause massive issues to the sound, to the driver. I don't have a formulation, but it's something we've kind of mixed up. It's a bit like Granny's cake mixture. You know, it's we've done it. It's a secret recipe. So secret we don't even know what it is. A bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of the other, but it makes everything stick together nicely. Yeah. So it's not a proprietary glue. It's something we've concocted. And you know, in all honesty, and I have to be careful here because of environmental things, I think we'd struggle to use that glue here in the UK. So we do actually glue our speakers together in the Far East because I don't think we'd be allowed to use that glue over here.
Interesting.
It's not got drugs in it. It's just not. It's just. I mean, we were shut down at Carlsbad for painting something and not having, you know, there's rules and regs. And the rules and regs are slightly different.
Right. Okay.
So, why so much love for Bishopsound? I think people like the idea that it's husband and wife, and we're trying our best, and we're passionate about sound and care, and we're not unapproachable. We're human beings, and we treat others as we expect to be treated ourselves. And yeah, you know, sometimes we're abused. Sometimes people take advantage of that kindness and friendship, but isn't that life? Isn't that how the world works? But the bottom line is, if I can help anybody that's got an issue with sound and make their days happier and make them more fulfilled, make them perform better, make them hear themselves better for the first time, make them just, you know, move forward in life, then I've done my bit, really. Whether it be in, you know, a young DJ that's mixing, you know, producing a track, whether it be a musician that's starting out his journey in creating sound and what have you, or whether it's a house of worship. I mean, we did a lot of work with mosques in Riyadh, in Saudi, and the Holy Quran is a very, very difficult body of work to reproduce correctly because it relies very much on not just what is said, but how it's said, the inflection of the voice, the reverb. And, you know, it's a really difficult subject. And when the imam, you know, goes up and comes down, you've got to pick up every piece of what he's saying and reproduce it perfectly. And we did a lot of that and still do, and that's very rewarding. I mean, I'm not of that faith, but I do respect its demands and needs, and I'm happy to be able to reproduce the sound correctly for that. So there's a lot of love because we care about all sorts, all diversities. Doesn't matter what color you are, green, pink, purple, where you lay your bed, where you put your head, you know, it doesn't matter. We're there for everybody. And long may it continue. So, in summary, it's a family business, not a cooperative. It's more, you know, we're not a conglomerate. We're more of a corporation, or more of a, I suppose we are more of a cooperative, actually, where everybody joins in together to achieve the given task. We are definitely powered by the people. The people make us bounce out of bed in the morning and put us to bed at night because, you know, every Friday night under normal circumstances and Saturday night, our equipment is out there, stirring souls, changing hearts and minds, getting people boogieing, dancing, feeling good about themselves. So that's good too. And we have the most brilliant customers in more ways than one. There's no bitching, there's no bragging, and there's no bullshit. It's just as it is. And that makes it a pleasing place to be. So that, in summary, is what Bishopsound is all about. That's us.
All right.
Could you briefly mention what the product lineup is for those of us who don't know?
It's quite broad. It starts at the bottom end. Shall I stop sharing?
Yep.
The screen? It starts, I suppose, with cables. We manufacture our own cables because we have to have the right vehicle to transmit the message to the speakers. So we have a lot of cables. We have and we brand our cables, and I'm very particular about cables. Then we go into entry level install speakers, 6-inch, 8-inch, and then we get into sort of wooden speakers of 10-inch, 12-inch, 15-inch. We do a dual 15. We do a triple 12. Now, triple 12 is unique to our business. Nobody, to our knowledge, manufactures a triple 12 PA speaker in active and passive. And the reason for this is all about what I was talking about earlier, which is emphasis on the mid-range. We're not losing mid-range. So the HF is delivered from a titanium dome diaphragm at the top of the unit. The bass is in a separate 12-inch compartment at the bottom of the unit. The two 12s in the middle are dealing with the mid-range. So if you're a band and the vocalist can't be heard, if you put triple 12s on the stage, point source, then all of a sudden the vocals come to life, and all of a sudden you can hear every vocal. So that's good. You're providing the microphones turned on, so that's good. And then after that, we've got all the subs, 12-inch, 15-inch, twin 12, active, and then we've got 18-inch single, active, passive, blah, blah, blah. Some Orion speakers, which are active, which are great. Plastic speakers, 12 and 15. And the little 8-inch Orion is amazing. You know how sometimes you do something and you think, how the hell did I manage to achieve that? That's just awesome. All by accident. A little bit of know-how, but you switch it on and you think, oh my God, how's that? And everyone goes, you're having a laugh, right? There's no EQ on it. You just switch it on and all of a sudden it comes to life. You think, man alive. And everyone that's bought one, and we only released it in September, everyone that's bought one has gone, oh my goodness. So that's good. Line array, we do line array. And that's another one where people go, oh man, at that price, it can't be any good. The guys that we use, some of the freelance engineers we use, they do the sound for Jules Holland, Midge, Elton John, you name it, all the major bands. He can't believe the sound that comes out of this line array. And that's awesome. I mean, it really is good. But yeah, so that's what we do. That's our product range, really.
And you mentioned also you're selling drivers, independent drivers?
By accident, yeah. They're the ones that are replacement drivers that are no longer replacement drivers, but are now arranged in their own right. Yeah, so they start at 8-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch, through the range, subs, mid-range, blah, blah. So yeah, so that's good too. Yeah, we do a couple of amplifiers. We struggle with we don't do any mixers because Behringer is so good, I mean, I have to say, put hats off to. I mean, when he bought Midas, and he's got some amazing engineers. We just can't even get near them on the quality of the desks that they produce. Soundcraft, Allen and Heath. What we know about. What we know about is what we do, which is speakers, really. And it's very difficult because people come to me and say, oh, I want a full solution. Well, I'm sorry, I only do this, BMW don't make wheelbarrows, so I can't give you a full range of, well, I might do actually now, but that's what we do. It's a full range of speakers, but we don't do mixers and we don't do high power amplifiers. We have partners for that.
Okay. So it sounds like you've got quite a number of items. Are you holding stock?
Yeah. We've got more stock than we've ever had because we are, in lockdown. So the situation at the moment is that we have good stocks in the Far East and here in the UK, but I don't think that's going to last very long.
Yeah. And you're selling at one by one to customers? You're not just selling through a distributor so much?
That's right. That's the other thing that's different, I suppose, is that in most cases, we actually sell to 200 countries around the world. We use a thing called Global E on our website. So you change the flag in the top right-hand corner, and it calculates all the duty and all the tax and the freight, and just says, well, there you go. That's your total bill. So that's very handy. And Brexit hasn't really affected us because we've had that all in place for a long, long time. Having said that, in certain countries, we have to have distributors, Nigeria in particular, and Pakistan and Afghanistan are massive customers of ours now. And that's good too, but that has to go through a distributor for a lot of different reasons. So there are certain parts of the world where distribution is the only way, and other parts where direct is the way. We send an awful lot of drivers to Australia and New Zealand. And that's good. There's guys over there that have latched on to what we're doing. But again, you see, it comes back to the ears. Because I think the reason Australia like British sound so much is that they've got a bit of British ear in them. You know, a bit of the old. And you know, West Africa's the same. They love the British sound. Burkina Faso, Ghana, all of that lot over that side, and even Nigeria, they very much like the British sound. They're really warm to it. And okay, the French sound is good. Don't knock the French, because the French sound is good as well. But generally speaking, I think there's a lot to do with people's ability to hear, or their educated hearing. Yeah.
Right. I find it quite interesting, your business model. I want to use the word, it's almost leveraging the current kind of gig economy methods with the freelancers. I'm just going to say, it seems like maybe almost like a Deliveroo, in a sense that you're getting what you need when you need, and you're hiring the driver. Maybe he works a few days a week, and that driver in this case is an acoustic engineer, or the factory is the particular restaurant delivering whatever they order. But do you think that business model is made possible because of the digital communication available today? Do you think like 20 years ago we could have this kind of remote working environment?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. It starts with this business that not one person knows everything. And our industry, sadly, has been very much about one person knowing everything. There's like these demigods of our sector that are the gods of sound.
Yeah.
So I think once you break that down, and it's like the emperor's new clothes. The king is in the altogether. Somebody says to me, can you tell me how to make a speaker box? No, I would struggle. I mean, I know what material, but I don't. So people come to me with, what's the enclosure got to be like for this and that? And where do I put my baffles? I haven't got a bloody clue.
Mm-hmm.
Not a clue. And people say, well, that's a bit, you're a speaker manufacturer. You should know these things. No, I don't. But I might know somebody that does. So yes, very much the Deliveroo method. It's what you want, how you want it, when you want it, within reason. So we can't deliver, a scampi kebab with strawberry sauce tomorrow, but we could get to work on it, and you probably could have that in a few weeks' time.
Right. So almost every project can be calculated as it comes across your desk. Like, this is feasible, profit, okay, the yes and the no pile is pretty easy once, and given your background in finance, it's probably pretty easy to determine what's a go and what's a not with your lean structure.
Yeah, and I think keeping it lean and keeping it focused. And I mean, during the pandemic, we've been shut since the 13th of March last year, effectively. We've not been able to push our wares because anybody in this country, in the United Kingdom, that makes music a public event at the moment gets a £10,000 fine, possible imprisonment, and confiscation of all equipment. So you're not allowed to make a loud noise in this country at the moment. And that's kind of stopped us because that's what we do for a living. All the churches are closed at the moment. All the cathedrals are closed. But once we get past and out of this, I think the future is very much more people coming on to the realization that they don't need these armies or armies of employed people, which is this is a very difficult subject. But we're the only reason we use a lot of freelancers is because we know the person that makes the best strawberry jam, we know the person that makes the best kebab, batter, dough, blah, blah, blah. So by pulling in the wizards who are only too happy, because in this sector at the moment, all our freelancers and crew are out of work. You know, we're a very big part of We Make Events globally, and I sit on the political team for We Make Events. And we're desperate to get more help and support for crew and all these great people that make events happen. It's tough times, but we might be able to give them a little bit more hope and work once we come out the other side of this.
Okay. All right. I guess maybe I'll just do a little trick here. I'll show people, here's your website. Pop it up on the screen. People can see
Here we go.
some of the products. Taking advantage of my video mixer. Love it.
Very swish.
But yeah, no, like this is what you spend your money on when you don't have any travel budget to burn. So at any rate, I think that's a lot. Do you have anything else you'd like to ask, Simon?
Your first speaker that you made in 1972, what was it?
It was a 12-inch speaker.
Was it a car subwoofer or a home speaker?
No, I didn't. I didn't do that. I did have a Transit, which I did out or customized, which we all did in the 70s, I guess, or 80s. But no, it was a speaker for a performance in school, and it was made out of parts of an old wardrobe.
Oh, interesting. Was the box sealed or leaky?
Box was exceptionally leaky, but it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with copy decks. You know, when the glues and the screws. I mean, hey, you know, it works, and that was the most amazing thing. I think the joyous thing about any child or any young person that manages to make something from not a lot and get a sound out of it is that moment where you think, hey, this is great, you know. Yeah. And you sit and listen to it for ages. Yeah. And you know, it lifts the soul. So, and that's what music's all about, and sound is all about. So I guess for me, in summary, if you know, it is more important than just the noise, and it's more important than just the sound. I think if we, through the teams we've got globally and the efforts we make every day, give people a really, really comfortable experience with the reproduction of sound, and make them smile and happy and not hurt their ears or give them tinnitus or anything like that, you know, or cause hearing issues. That's what we don't want. You know, we want people to be comfortable in their space with sound. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Beauty.
Cool. Very good. All right. So if people want to get a hold of Bishop Sound, it's bishopsound.com. We'll put their information in the description down below. And if anybody has questions or comments, please shoot them in the comments below. And of course, like, subscribe, and share, everybody. It's how this YouTube thing works. So thank you, Andy, for calling in today. We really appreciate your time. It was great catching up. There was no NAMM show this year. So this is, I guess, the next best thing.
We'll have a beer soon, mate. We'll have a beer soon.
All right. Okay. So thanks for watching, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye-bye. Take care.